everyone, Jason here from JW.Coasters. Today I'm going to be putting together the new Texas Giant Nanocoaster. This Nanocoaster is available directly from the park or from merch.sixflags.com. They sell for $34.99. However, if you have a membership or a pass, you can usually get a discount. I used my Diamond membership and was able to get 35% off. The Diamond Elite is able to get 50% off. Platinum, I believe, is 20%. So you can get a pretty good discount on this as well. But let's get started. Now before we get started, you'll want to pull everything out of the box. Inside the box you have instructions, you have tips, you have your base, and you have some track pieces. The base is a black acrylic base, but as you can see there's a brown paper on there. If you look at pictures of people that put these together online, a lot of people miss that. And so before we get started, we'll actually want to peel that brown paper off of the base. Now that the paper's off the base, the next step will be to cut off all of the track pieces. Now the tip sheet tells you to use a regular pair of nail clippers to cut it out. I found that either using a pair of metal scissors or scissor style nail clippers is much easier to remove the pieces. So we'll remove all of the pieces now. Now once you have all the pieces cut out, one of the first things you'll want to do is to inspect the edges of the pieces. Where you cut the pieces off, there's frequently these little nubs that you'll want to go along with your clippers and just kind of trim those off, especially on the bottom. So if you don't get them all off on the bottom, then the coaster track may not sit flush to the base. So I'm going to go around really quick and I'm just going to cut any of those little snubs off. Just takes a second here. Okay, so we've completed cutting out the track pieces, and now it's time to start assembly. Now the first step that I like to do is to actually add a large logo to the base plate here. This isn't included in the kit. The kit does include this little tag with the logo, which I will also use as well. However, I like to have a larger logo on there that's easier to see. So I've actually pre-cut out the new Texas Giant logo here from a piece of adhesive vinyl. And I'm going to apply it, and I've measured the logo to make sure that it will fit inside of the infilled area of the Nanocoaster. And I'm now gonna peel this off. So I've now got my logo ready, and I'm just going to line it up here within the infill of the Nanocoaster. Press it on. And I now have a large logo there that's a lot easier to see. Once again, that doesn't come with the kit, but it's something that's easily added if you have access to a vinyl cutter. It just adds a little bit more to the Nanocoaster. So now we will find the first piece of track that we need to add. For some reason, the instructions go step 1 and then step 2, but we'll hop over there and find that piece. So the first thing you want to do when you're looking for a piece is try to find something unique about that piece. So here we can see the flat edge up there for the mid-course brake run. So I'm guessing that that piece is this piece right here on the table. Another thing you can do is if you look at the little tabs on the bottom, they're all different sizes and spaced differently. And so you really can't put a piece in the wrong place. The tips tell you to pre-bend the pieces. I do that a little bit, but I've actually found that it's easier if you just kind of put the pieces in and form them along the track boundary. And so this is going to go on the inner ring here. So I'm going to start with this large tab where the mid-course brake run is. And now I'm going to just slightly bend it and fit the little next tab into the little hole. And then we're going to continue bending it around and put the last tab in there. Underneath there are little tabs now sticking out the bottom of the base. So the tips tell you you want to start by pre-bending the track. I like to pre-bend it a little bit, but I also like to just mold it around the track. So we'll begin by putting the large tab where the mid-course brake run is directly down into the base, and then kind of shaping the track around and lining up each of the next 2 tabs. And then once you get those pressed in, there are tabs on the bottom that you can just simply bend over to hold it into place. And we'll continue that around the other side as well. So once again, we'll just kind of shape this around the track, stick the next tab in there, and then the next tab. And it does take a little bit of working with the metal to get it to fit properly. But once you start doing a few of these, it definitely gets easier over time. Bend over all these tabs, and so you can see all the tabs are bent over there, and that track piece is now in place. Go on to the next step. So step number 3 appears to continue on from where we just left off on this edge here over here, and then loop back that way. And so to do that, we'll want to find, so if we look at the edge of this piece here, you'll see that it's slanted down a little bit under a 1/2 inch high. So we'll want to find the next piece, and so we'll find something that's continuing down that way, also about the same height. We'll also notice that on the base plate, there's just a single little hole there. And so right here, I believe I have the next piece, is it has just the single tab, which I can drop into that hole. And then I can just kind of shape the track, once again, to the next tab slot, and then continue around doing the same thing here. So just go to the next tab slot, drop that in, continue around again. There's a very large tab here that we're now going to line up with the slot and drop it in, and then it's going to curve back the other direction. Oops, I bent the tab. So we'll bend that tab back down, and we'll put the last one in the last slot. So that piece is all now in place. We'll flip it over once again, bend over the tabs, and piece number 2 is now complete. Step 4 actually goes over this track here in the middle. And so for that, we'll want to find the piece that has the groove that goes over the track. That makes it a little bit easier to find that piece. If we look at the instructions or match up over here, we can also see kind of which way it goes. It appears that it goes this direction. So we have 2 of the medium tabs here in a row, and we can also see those on the base. So we'll line those up and drop them in. We'll need to then bend this over the track, and there's actually 2 small pegs, one on each side of the gap, so that we can line those up and drop them in. Now, some of the areas that have little structural integrity are a little bit harder to bend around. For areas like that, it may be useful to use something like a battery to help shape the piece ahead of time. I'm having a hard time where that groove is. Also, if you're doing a steel coaster rather than something with a wood structure, you may have that problem as well. So I'm actually going to use this battery to kind of give it a more round shape, just kind of shape it to the battery and see if this will help me line it up a little bit better. Once again, I'm reaching on the bottom and I'm bending over each of the tabs here so that once again this piece is completely held into place. If we look at step 5, we'll see that it actually wraps around the back side of the mid-course brake run. Now we're going to continue off of this back side here with this piece right here. You can see the 2 airtime hills on the corner, which are also on this piece. Once again, we'll line it up there with the first tab, where it comes up, start wrapping it around the mid-course brake run area, just very carefully. Continue around the second hill here, and then into the last 2 grooves over here on the front side of the coaster. Bend over each of these tabs on the bottom. Now, if you notice, there's a little bit of a bulge there in the shape of the track, so you can kind of just bend it into place and kind of form it. You don't want any super hard bends here. You don't want it to look all jagged. You want it to be smooth. And so you can kind of just mold it with your hands. Now, step 6 adds on the lift hill. So we'll continue here around from the last piece we added on. Drop in this little groove at the end, bend it just a little bit to get the lift hill in. And then we're going to also wrap around here where it enters the station. Once again, if you have something like a battery, that can help you get just a more even, uniform bend there. And we'll just drop that one in. And the base does have the coaster track etched into it, so if you're trying to figure out the shaping exactly, that does help you. So right here, once again, we're putting this piece in, bending over each of the tabs on the bottom. Looks like we got all of them. We didn't get the shaping quite right down here at the end, so we can kind of just mold this with our fingers to fit, the more round shape of the track layout. Now we have one piece left. Now the last piece has mostly flat here as it pulls into the brake run. So we'll start that here. Bend over all the tabs, and we now have a completed track layout. Now the last 2 pieces to add are the station and the logo piece. The station comes flat like this. You want to just begin by folding it exactly in half, right where the roof is, and then folding in the 2 sides. All of the Nanocoaster station buildings look exactly the same. They don't look like the real stations. It looks like just a little house. We can then drop this over the station area. It also has 2 tabs on the bottom that hold it into place. And then the sign with the logo fits into a little slot here in the front. We'll just kind of drop that in place as well. Bend over the tab on the bottom, and then bend the tab back so that it kind of faces out. So there's the completed product. This is the complete Nanocoaster from Coaster Dynamics, once again available at Six Flags Over Texas, as well as at merch.sixflags.com. It looks really good. It's not completely true to life, but pretty close. Now, one extra thing I like to do at the end here, if you look at the bottom, you'll notice there's all these little tabs now that are sticking out, kind of rough. They can scratch the surface if you're going to be putting it on something. So I actually like to add a felt bottom. To do that, I purchased this felt here. You can get this on Amazon. I believe that a 10 pack cost about $9. And you can usually do 2 coasters out of this. I've also cut Copperhead Strike, it looks like, out of this piece here. But I also believe I'm gonna be able to fit this one on here as well. To do the felt, I just simply put the Nanocoaster over the felt. Now you like to try to match up one of the longest straight edge with one of the edges of the felt, so you don't have to cut it any more than you have to. And we'll grab a pen and we'll trace around the base of the Nanocoaster here. And there's the shape of the Nanocoaster. From here, we'll grab a pair of scissors and I'll just cut right inside of the traced line. You don't want to cut outside of it. The pen runs along the outside, and if the felt doesn't quite come to the edge of the Nanocoaster, it's not the end of the world. So we'll, once again, we'll just kind of cut right here along. Doesn't have to be perfect. The felt's actually pretty forgiving. So we'll do that. There was also a rounded corner down here at the bottom that I forgot to trace, but we'll cut it anyways. And now I'll match up the Nanocoaster, kind of make sure that it's completely covering the felt. It appears that it is. The felt has an adhesive built right into it, and so I can just simply peel up a small piece of it here and tear off the backing. And now once again, we'll want to line the entire coaster up with the felt, press down on that, and now we can peel off the remaining backing here. And then press the coaster right down onto the felt. So what that does is it gives it a soft bottom here. It holds those tabs in place so that they can no longer fall off. But it also gives it a soft touch so that you can put this on a shelf now and it won't ruin it. Now that we've completed the Nanocoaster model, the last thing to do is to put it up on the shelf between Millennium Force and Outlaw Run. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit the thumbs up button down below. If you'd like to see more videos about Nanocoasters and other things that I want to post about, make sure you hit the subscribe button as well. If you want to purchase a Nanocoaster yourself, they're available at several Six Flags parks, as well as some Cedar Fair parks and even some independent parks as well. You can purchase Six Flags, SeaWorld, and even some of the Cedar Fair Park Nanocoasters online from their direct websites. You can also purchase some from CoasterDynamics.com. If you want to add the felt backing, once again, that's available from Amazon. The Nanocoasters cost about $35 each, but once again, if you have a season pass or membership, that may entitle you to a discount. If you're looking to do your first Nanocoaster, I would recommend something with a wooden structure. The coasters with a steel structure, like Steel Curtain, Mako, Millennium Force, Kraken, they're a little bit more difficult to put together, where the wooden structure is a little bit easier to bend and a little bit more forgiving when you're assembling it. So I would recommend starting with that. I started with Steel Vengeance, and it was one of the easier ones that I've put together, where something like West Coast Racers down here was quite a bit more difficult. And so make sure you start with something that's easy and take your time. Don't rush it. You want the product to look good in the end. If you rush it too much, you might bend the pieces, you might break them. And once again, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit the thumbs up button. If you didn't like it, I guess that's okay. But if you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button below.